So good afternoon everyone. I'm Nelson Camara, a former investment banker and executive director at Sport Impact, an advisory firm dedicated to structuring, funding, and promoting impactful sport projects worldwide. We also oversee the secretariat of the Coalition for Sustainable Development through Sport. To echo one of the most active public development banks in this ecosystem, sport is more than a game. Many public and private investors, as well as civil society organizations, have already embraced this reality. Did you know that investing €1 in sport can generate savings of up to €2 in healthcare costs, according to a recent OECD report? And that's just the beginning. Sport also reduces criminality, boosts school retention and academic performance, and tackles social inequalities. As highlighted earlier today, sport is a powerful driver of social, economic, and urban development. And that's exactly what we are here to discuss, how to unlock this potential ecosystem through innovation, innovative funding, and partnership mechanisms. To kick things off, let's warmly welcome our distinguished panelists. I will start with Ms. Marty Jans van Schwenzenburg, Board Chairperson at the Development Bank of Southern Africa. I will now call Ms. Kate Woods, former national hockey player, three-time Olympian, and now General Manager of Adidas South Africa. Mr. Babatunde Soyoy, co-founder and managing partner of Helios Investment Partners, please. Yes, please. And Mr. Welmingan Gondono, partner at Southbridge Investment, leading the 10K Sports and Wellness Fund. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. So as you have heard it earlier today, innovation in sport for development is crucial, and not just in the types of projects we are supporting, but also in the way we finance them and structure partnerships. From grassroots programs to major infrastructure projects, from capacity building to the legacy of mega events, financing models need to evolve to unlock the full potential of sport. Before diving into our discussion, I would like to invite someone who has played a pivotal role in driving this innovative process, notably as co-chair of the Coalition for Sustainable Development through Sport and CEO of ICSC, the Italian Development Bank for Sport and Culture. Please welcome on board Ms. Antonella Baldino.
Thank you, Nelson, for your kind introduction, and good afternoon, everyone. It is both a pleasure and an honor to be here introducing this panel on innovative sport for development funding instrument. And I would like really to offer my sincere thanks to Financing Common, to the BSA and AIAB for organizing this first Sport Investment Forum and for fostering our conversation about the transformative power of sport. I would also, before delving into the importance of innovative financial initiative, a few words about the Istituto per il Credito Sportivo e Culturale, or ICSC, the institution I'm proud to be representing here today. Is one of the very few financial institutions in the world that is exclusively dedicated to financing of sport and the cultural sector, with almost 70 years of experience in managing both public funds and market resources, which support the construction, the modernization of infrastructure which are crucial, yet often underfunded, as well as the sport value chain. So having a well-established collaboration with the Italian promotional institution, Cassa Depositi e Prestiti, and the multilateral banks such as the European Investment Bank and Council of Europe Development Bank, since 2020 we have been collaborating increasingly with institutions such as the Agence Française de Développement, JICA, and other public development banks and institutions to promote sustainable development through sport. And this collaboration led to the creation of the Coalition for Sustainable Development Through Sport within the Financing Common initiative, a coalition dedicated to increase financing resources, expertise and investment to build a more sustainable world through sport. As we all recognize, sport can be considered as a low-cost, high-impact tool for development, and at the same time, a booming economic sector, generating 2 to 3% of global GDP. Yet, despite this, sport typically receive less than 0.2% of national budget, which leads to significant deficit in infrastructure and training, limiting access to physical activity worldwide. So to address this gap, we need a paradigm shift. Investing in sport shouldn't be seen as diverting resources from priority like healthcare or education. Rather, sport is a tool to advance these priorities. We are not playing a zero-sum game. We are investing in sport, and this is a way to build a better and more sustainable society. This brings us to the role of public development banks, which are essential in addressing the financial challenges in the sports sector while maximizing its economic and social potential. These issues are at the very heart of the Coalition for Sustainable Development Through Sport, the Financing Common Coalition, and they are increasingly in the spotlight, in the political spotlight. Indeed, last year, for the first time ever, the G7 countries addressed the theme of sport for development under Italy's lead. A blended approach, it aims at pooling financial resources from a public and philanthropic sector, attract private investment, and it's not just about funding, it also aims to provide technical assistance to improve bankability of projects, increasing their attractiveness to investors. The fund's governance structure will be collaborative, ensuring efficiency, transparency, and accountability while attracting investments. At the ICSC, we are fully committed to contributing to the design of the fund alongside the Agence Française de Développement, sharing our expertise in mobilizing long-term capital with a focus on sustainability, responsibility, and social inclusion. So we deem that now is the right moment to focus on sport as a proper asset class with high potential in attracting new investors and addressing resources in developing development initiatives. In this last month, as an example, ICSC issued a social bond to support impact investment in the sports sector. The bond received overwhelming demand, totaling 2 billion euro, six times the initial offering. And this remarkable success shows the growing interest in sport as a social infrastructure asset class and its potential. So let us continue our collective effort to transform the sports sector as an economic opportunity and as a powerful tool for sustainable development, and year after year, creating a lasting impact for a better world. So thank you.
Thank you, Antonella, for your powerful introduction. I know your schedule is quite tight, so we will not keep you too long, but let's take a picture with all the panelists before you leave, please. Thank you. Thank you, Antonella. Excellent. Thank you. So before we start the discussion, thank you again, Antonella, for your kind words. I would also like to take a moment to highlight further in details the Global Sport Impact Fund strategy. As mentioned by Antonella, a key initiative designed to mobilize resources, drive inclusion, and tackle social challenges through sport. Here, what makes this fund unique? First, empowering communities by prioritizing projects that deliver sustainable social impact, particularly in health, education, gender equality, and job creation, with a focus on emerging markets. Attracting investors by engaging a diverse pool of investors seeking both financial and social returns, fostering new collaboration, and by de-risking investments using blended finance approach through grants, guarantees, and concessional loans. Unlock private capital, for sure, for sport-driven development, and ensuring long-term financial support to help projects achieve sustainability. Capacity building will be key to support, offering technical assistance to help projects scale and sustain impact. Standardized evaluation process, definitely, how to measure the impact that will be achieved through this fund by establishing robust impact measurement frameworks to demonstrate the real benefits of investing in sport. Multi-sectoral synergies, sport intersects with education, health, infrastructure, industry, technology, creating, by this way, diverse opportunity of investments. The fund will focus on a diversified portfolio of public PPP projects, scaling over time with a global reach, prioritizing emerging markets, as mentioned earlier. Investments will range from local sports facilities and academies to major stadiums, grassroots programs, women's sports, sport tech initiative, and human development projects oriented. Several investor categories will be engaged, including DFIs, PDBs, international sports organizations, corporate foundations, insurance and pension funds, among others. I will stop there because we can talk a lot about it. The ongoing structuration of the fund is in process, and we have tomorrow morning a discussion with the coalition member for a dedicated plenary session to go into further details and notably related to the key next steps regarding the fundraising process related to this fund. So let me back to my panelists. Thanks again for your patience, and we will start now the discussion. I will start with Marty. Marty, thanks for being here with us today.
It's on. Thank you.
Perfect. You have worked extensively with governments and the private sector to foster investment and develop critical infrastructure, notably in South Africa. The DBSA has taken an innovative approach through the D-Lab program. Can you give us some more details about this initiative?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I also would like to thank you for the opportunity to share with you our experience with the D-Labs. But just to contextualize, the Development Bank of Southern Africa is a development finance institution. Our mandate is to finance infrastructure, and it's usually called hard infrastructure because it's in the network industries, energy, water, rail, roads, harbors, digital infrastructure, as well as social housing. And our mandate is both in South Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa. Now, the process that we had was consideration 2019 that came to fruition in 2020, was that we need to do something different to be able to stimulate local economic, and local is township, economic activity, and how are we going to do that? So through that process, the D-Labs program was born. And it's premised on a process where you actually have to convene a number of partners together. Because where you actually enter into a township area, you need to partner with local government. You need to partner with civil society in that area. You need to be able to convene and get the expectations out of it. And then in the process, you also partner with institutions that will help you to roll it out. And I can use it as an example. We're using Abmandla, that's running the Safe Hubs program to manage our facilities and the programs there. We partner with our labs who help us with digital skills and development of digital skills. The facilities are used much wider. There's an education element. There's a community hall element where you can actually run specific workshops. You've got an enterprise development element in that for that community. And then in certain areas, we also have a health element. So I think that's just the starting point. How did we go through the process? There's no model that we could follow. So we're on the implementation side now here. So what did we do is we needed to innovate a model. We needed to put aside some sustainable earnings from the DBSA. So we allocated some of our balance sheet returns to be able to fund these initiatives. And to date, we have earmarked 500 million, around $28 million for these programs, of which about 40% has been spent. We've got 5 operational D-labs, and we've got another 4 in development. Telling you the story tells us we piloted, we've learned lessons. To be able to start to say is, can we have a model that we can scale taking forward? Because you can't have an impact only in certain parts of communities. You need to be able to scale it and roll it out. Now, how do we measure the development returns? Because it's not financial returns, it is development returns. So we determined before the time, really through a development results tool, of what the impact would be. So how many people can go through the learnerships, how many people can be educated, all of those type of elements that you are measure through KPIs. And then secondly, we've also introduced a social return on investment calculation. And that had helped us to start to evaluate where we have the impact or not the impact. Because then you need to know, what do I need to move more of, or what do I need to do less of? To say a hub, if you create such a hub, it needs to be sustainable on the long term. Because if it can't look after itself on the longer term, you will be always putting money in, but not necessarily empowering the environment. So in all the D labs that we're currently running, we also started to look at what is a sustainable business operation to be able to generate returns. At 3 of the D labs, we have business process outsourcing operations, which has got both local and international clients. So through that returns that it can generate, you can be able to sustain the longevity of your interactions that you've got in place. Just to say, it's not a journey it's not an easy journey. I think what we said is fail fast and learn faster. That's number 1. Secondly is it needed a high level of innovation. Just to give you an idea, through the process up till now, we have engaged and was active in the precincts, about 371,000 people. The work opportunities created and facilitated in the 4 years, because it's measured to the end of 2024, was nearly 3,000. Work opportunities and created for women, the gender lens, is about 1,000. Work opportunities created and facilitated for the youth, because we have a youth that you need to occupy and make sure that they've got a meaningful future, is about 1,800. Local enterprises that went through a process of development, training and operating is about 2,300. A number of individuals completing job readiness programs was, and training about 2,600. And then a number of partner operations operating within the DLAB ecosystem, about 145. So the model is based on partnerships. Number two is you need to have the process developed with the community. Number three is we talk about governance hurdles, but it's actually access to land, because you need to have a long-term investment and you need to be able to secure the facility for the long term. So if we can talk about delays, we can tell you lots of stories around access to land and the registration of the rights around it. And I think that's mainly what I would like to bring to you. And we can see if there's questions.
Yeah, thank you, Mati. So I understand innovative D-Labs to empower sustainable ecosystem by tracking also strong social impacts on a long-term period. That's great. Kate, I will jump on you. Having competed on the world stage as a three-time Olympian, and I think she merits a round of applause again, because three-time is not a small asset. You have seen firsthand to see how sport can contribute to community development. And now, as General Manager of Adidas South Africa, what's your take on the role of sport for community development?
Thank you very much. It is a great pleasure to be here. I do feel a bit like a fish out of water talking at a finance conference, but the fact that you're here to talk sport and the will to invest in sport is music to my ears. And thank you for the wishes. It is, I have experienced firsthand the true power of sport. It has transformed my life. I was very fortunate to access sport at a young age through school. And sport, honestly, it taught me to dream. It taught me to be passionate about something. It showed me that I can be courageous and to chase my dreams. It gave me confidence in my ability. I learned many, many, many life lessons along the way. Sport has helped me to travel the world. So I honestly am forever grateful for the role that sport has played in my life. Through my sporting journey, Adidas sponsored me. And while they were sponsoring me, they said, come and work for us. We want to invest in you. We believe in you. And today, to sit here as the general manager leading Adidas in my home country and some other African countries is honestly the greatest honor. And so if I can do something is to carry that narrative of how sport has the power to change lives in everything we do. We're not just here to sell shoes. We understand that our role as Adidas is to instill hope, to create belief, to inspire, and to three pillars to address these barriers. The one is providing more access to marginalized communities. The other one is to address the equality in sport. And the other one is to provide and address concerns around safety when participating in sport. So from an access point of view, it's been a great honor to financially contribute towards infrastructure, sporting facilities, fields, and infrastructure in various communities. We have wonderful partnerships with the likes of Amandla, Safe Hub, the Kolisi Foundation, Zodwa Foundation. And we don't just stop at the foundations that we wish to partner with. We also talk to our athletes that we sponsor, and we help them give back to their own communities as well. Access in the form of product. We also very proudly produce and manufacture product that enables everyone to participate. We've got maternity wear for sport. We've got modest wear for sport. The other topic of equality and equity in sport. This talks to the gender parity. And we know that there is a huge inequality in sport today still. And so our role at Adidas is to shine the spotlight on our female athletes, to make sure that we are giving them equal opportunity, to make sure that we're challenging not only ourselves, but every other company, corporate sponsor out there to remunerate equally. And we also know that there's a much smaller number of female participants, and so it's also important to take our female athletes back into communities because they stand and serve as role models to show the next generation of athletes that as a female it is possible to have a career in sport, that they too can participate in sport and experience the benefits that it provides. And the last pillar on safety, this is a real issue that one needs to address, is creating safe physical spaces for young boys and girls to participate in sport, and also to provide that psychological safety. And so it's absolutely wonderful to play a role in addressing those concerns.
It's amazing to see that corporates are more and more investing in sport, not only through marketing strategy, pure marketing strategy, but also through corporate social responsibility one. So quite interesting to hear about that. Thank you, Kate. Babatunde, Helios is one of the largest Africa-focused investment firm, managing more than $3 billion, am I correct? That's it, almost. Your recent entry into the sports sector, particularly through NBA Africa and the Basketball Africa League, is a game changer. And could you please just explain to us what drove this decision to invest into the sports ecosystem in Africa?
Bonsoir. Good afternoon, everyone. It's actually been quite interesting listening to some of the themes that have been brought out by DBSA and my colleagues over here. And actually it sort of plays to the reason why we went into what we do. So if one tries to step back and take a 5,000 feet view, I go back many years, there was 3 channels on TV, and they were on for 4 hours a day, 5 hours a day. If you haven't noticed, almost you put on TV now, mobile phones everywhere, there's something on in sports, literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in your bathroom, in your shower, during your sleep and everything else. And more people actually are consuming sport. So sport has just become something that, due to technology has just been a massive transformer of what sport is, and made sport into, from a commercial side, an entertainment product that's global in nature. Yep. So the other thing that has been going on is just been an increased participation in sports globally. I hear what Kate says about the dislocated communities that want to participate but are not participating. But accessibility has increased across the world. You see just a lot more people are doing even things like golf, football, basketball, tennis, paddle, just easy accessibility of all kinds of sports. But actually, most importantly, has been female participation in sports. Go back 20 years, there was no female football World Cup, there was no female rugby teams, there was no female cricket. But you go anywhere in the world right now, there's World Cups and there's leagues in virtually every country where female participation is one of the fastest growing and one of the most watched types of sports in the world. So female participation has been absolutely critical to what sport has become today. As an investment sort of thing, sports investing is relatively new. We've all noticed the way it seems to be exploding. You've seen Formula One going for billions of dollars, people buying basketball teams for billions. Just the amount people pay for some of the sports franchises today has been absolutely immense and ridiculous. Also through the cycles, interest rates went up, the value of sports businesses went up. It didn't matter. So sports, even though it's still at a very, very early stage of its development, the attractiveness and value of sports as an investment class is still so attractive and has such a long way to go. The drivers of it are, I'll say maybe are threefold. One is the TV and media and technology driving the increase in franchise values of all these assets. The second, as I mentioned, I think is female participation in sports because it's fast growing And it's just, it's just such an attractive big base that never spent money on sports. Half the world did spend money on sports in the world in the past. Now that half is spending more and more money on sports. But the last but not the least is what I'll call the monetization of sports stars' franchise value. You have people like Lionel Messi. These sports stars now are stars on their own, and their brands are stronger than the brands of the clubs or what they do, and it transcends it, and they monetize the value. So there's just so much value from sports driven by many, many, many factors. So why did we choose to invest? Now, I've said a lot of things in a roundabout way, but the key thing, though, is that 30% of the global youth by the year 2050 are going to come from Africa. Now, who does sports? It's not the over 50s. Okay, so we do. We try to do a few things here and there. But youth are the product. Youth is what does sports. So with the increase of the African demographic and the large quantity of Africans driving sports around the world, and it's going to increase and improve, numbers going to get higher and higher, we saw the opportunity to find a way to invest behind Africa and Africans, basically monetizing the products of the youth to drive sports in a way that it drives economic development, drives social impact, and drives sustainable development. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I will go to you all to complete, because such bridge also, with leaders like Lionel Zinzou, Donald Kaberuka, Franny Lothier, is deeply embedded into the public and private investment sector in Africa. And why did Solbridge is currently working on the launching of a new dedicated fund towards the sport and wellness ecosystem? Why is the rationale behind that?
No, thanks for the question. I mean, I won't repeat what Baba just mentioned, but just to echo that and to add to that, we mentioned, or a number of panelists mentioned since this morning, that basically this sport is a new and unique asset class, and now it's time to action. So I think that the whole rationale behind the 10K Sports Fund is exactly that. It's to say, how can we actually monetize the fan base that we have here in Africa, coupling to a number of factors that have been mentioned in terms of youth, appetite for sport, and impact on health and social impact. So I think the idea is really to say, how can we target multi-segments that are related to the sports ecosystem and actually generate economic return while triggering measurable social impact. So I think all of these factors and the trends that we've seen on the continent are actually the main reasons why we are working on launching that private equity fund. And I think that one thing to add is when you look at all the opportunities and the initiatives that have been launched into that team, it's quite complementary. And I think that's something we should actually highlight, because you have investment in infrastructure, you have people investing in clubs and leagues, and you also have people like us that want to invest in the, let's say, the remaining aspects of the value chain. So I think the idea is really to strengthen the whole sports ecosystem, so that at the end of the day, we can really build that new and unique asset class.
Oui, he's sick. Thank you. Thank you, UL. You confirm this unit asset class, innovative, booming sector, strong perspectives. I will back to Marty. We see that engaging multi-stakeholders initiative is key. What role do partnership concretely within the D-Lab program you just mentioned earlier?
I want to bring it back to this morning's launch discussion also, because where sport is moving into an asset class that is used for sustainable development and to be able to attract investment, I will appeal that we need to look at our model of implementation, because we're talking to fund managers that would like to put money in, but how are we making sure that those investments are sustainable in the long run? So I think that's the first item that I would like to appeal to. Obviously, what I also say is where we have piloted as a DBSA a model, we are looking for partners to be able to scale it. So there may be opportunities because we are at the stage where we are to be able to say, so how do we roll out this investment? Because if our models are financially self-sustainable, and then you have a different investment opportunity or a partnering, because we would like to use the terminology partnering. And yes, there is an element of foundation money that we need to leverage, but there's obviously then also sports infrastructure development that we can have a look at. I do think, as I say, as an appeal is I think we need to see how we roll it out, because we do not want to sit here in 10 years' time and say we've invested a few billion and what can we show for it.
Thank you, Marty. And Kate, Adidas has worked together with the D-Lab and DBSA in general. What was the rationale and the partnership behind the collaboration with DBSA?
Well, I think what is amazing is when different partners from different sectors come together because of a shared vision. And I think, together we have a common partner, and that partner is Amandla. We've mentioned them. The wonderful playmakers are activating behind us. But Amandla, really, we've partnered with Amandla, I think, for the last 15 years, back since 2010. And we have an appetite to provide more access to the communities, to sport, but we aren't able to do it ourselves. And we recognized in this partner that they have built a recipe, a model that is sustainable, that is scalable around the world, that works from within the community, that empowers individuals, uplifts communities, and actually gives back economically. But this power of sport, it was born from the power of sport. And this is where we first partnered up. So it began with our relationship with Amandla. We have 15 safe hubs around South Africa, and I know there are safe hubs around the world as well. And it's been absolutely wonderful to play a key role in what they are doing through sport and in the communities. And the DBSA partner with Amandla as well. And through the D-Labs and Safe Hubs, we've been able to come and join and be a part of this vision and to give back in the future. So our role as Adidas within the Safe Hubs and D-Labs is really to kit out the playmakers. They proudly wear the 3 stripes, which, so I've heard, is something very proud for them. They feel that they have status, and that they feel proud of how they look, and that they're able to function in high performance gear. They're able to be a role model for the young kids that they teach and coach. We're also through financial investments. Also amazing to see how many of our staff want to come and volunteer to be a part of the Safe Hubs and D-Labs. So volunteering to give back in the skill sets and functions that they operate in. So for example, HR coming to give upskilling sessions on how to build a CV and how to conduct yourselves in an interview, how to build your brand, how to manage finances. And so it's been amazing as a volunteer program as well for our staff at Adidas to give back. And then in terms of building the infrastructure and dreaming about what we can do together, I think the one I want to mention is the Safe Hub and D-Lab that we are looking to build together in the township called s4D. Now, for any South African in this room, I'm pretty sure Captain Siya Kolisi is someone you all know. And for our international friends, he is the captain of the Springbok rugby team. Say again? 2 World Cup wins under his belt, correct? But Siya Kolisi is really the symbol of hope to so many South Africans. He was a young boy that grew up in the township called s4D in the Eastern Cape. And he grew up in very impoverished conditions. And through sport, his trajectory and his whole life changed. And he was very fortunate to be taken out of the township and taken into a private school and be given coaching and be given the opportunities to change the course of his life. But what Sia often says is that he wished he didn't have to leave his township and his community to succeed. He wants to go back and build infrastructure and take investments back into the community so that we can empower. There are many more Sia Kolisis that live there today. And we want to go into the community and together build a center of excellence for sport and arts and culture and development in the township. And so we are busy working on what that might look like together with DBSA, together with Amandla. Our dream would be to go back and to create this center of sporting excellence in a township today that can affect not one life, but millions. So it is just through shared partners and with a common vision to really harness and make sure that we can invest in these townships and communities to make sure that they can access sport and that sport may too change the course of their life.
Innovative partnership, concrete action, strong results. What's driving the partnership behind the D-Lab? Congrats for the collective action. Babatunde, you are both today involved in several fundraising processes, notably with PDBs, DFIs, private organizations, IFC, IFD Group, Fupo Parco. Could you please give us some guidelines related to your investment strategy behind the fund you are currently deploying on the African continent, and how do you attract these investors around the same table? We'll start with Babatunde and then I will let you complete.
Money, money, money. Anyway, money. So what we typically do is we raise capital in a structure called a fund. So a fund is something where you get money from people. Let me step back. Something that Marty said earlier, that with sport you need to be patient. Yep. Sport is not something that's set up for you invest in 3-5 years time, you sell and you get your profit and move on. You got to be patient for the investment and the returns will come over time if you make the right choices. So we started from that logic and decided that rather than going for our usual structures of raising a fund, which is a sort of closed-end, fixed tenure, 10-year vehicle, to create a company that is a permanent capital, it's a forever thing that will continue to invest in sports and entertainment across the African continent. So that's what we decided to do. That's the first thing we decided to do. We were lucky enough to initially have a balance sheet ourselves, have some capital ourselves, and we made a series of initial investments. The first was working with the NBA, which is the American Basketball League. They've only done one other league outside America, which was in China, partly because of the huge amount of Africans involved in the NBA in America. They decided to create something in Africa, and they partnered with us and a few other investors to create something called NBA Africa. As we all know, everything in Africa is football. Every other sport is going to take a while to get there. So we're very patient, and we think that's going to be a long term. But as part of this, the plan is to build 5,000 courts, basketball courts, by the NBA across the continent in the next few years. So that's the first thing we did. The next thing we actually did was quite an interesting one. It was something more to do with entertainment, but it has some synergies with sport. It's a music genre called Afrobeat. I don't know if any of you have heard about it, which is the fastest growing music genre of the world right now. There's a company called Afro Nation, which we own the majority of, we acquired. And what Afro Nation does is just promotes Afrobeat globally and hosts conferences around the world. The biggest of which is I call it a conference, no, I meant festival. Thinking like a businessman. It's a festival in Faro that has 50,000 people. It's the biggest movement of people into Portugal a single week. 50,000 people coming from all around the world into Portugal for a week, listening to Afrobeats music. So we've got that as well. The next thing we then did was we invested in something, I don't know, anyone here know who Francis Ngannou is? Okay. It's mixed martial arts, which is, people know of the UFC, but there are two leagues in the world, the UFC and PFL. And what's happened actually, the world heavyweight champion, Francis Ngannou, the world middleweight champion was Kazim, a Nigerian. There's a bunch of Africans are sort of champions of different weight classes in the MMA. So we went to PFL, and now we've created a league in Africa called the PFL. It's an ultimate fighting MMA league in Africa. And last but not the least, which I think will please Marty, we've created a business to try to have venues that are stadia that can host all these events and others. So we've partnered, we've got something in Rwanda now, but it's both stadium management. We're about now to evolve into actually stadia construction and development across the continent in a measured manner. So we're looking to do more, but the overall theme is to try to find sports and entertainment that has got African talent that the globe, the whole world will want to watch, and create opportunities and pathways for the elite talents that have come through what you've done and who aspire to transform their lives and careers through sport. And to your question about money, we decided to start with first the GFI. We've got AFG, which is hosting this event at the IFC, as anchor investors. And on the back of that, we've got a bunch of wealthy individuals who have invested in sports in America and in Europe, coming in beside and around that to support.
And some elite athletes has also,
yes,
also
absolutely.
committed to
some elite athletes as well, African elite athletes who want to invest and do more back on the continent in sports in Africa. Thanks for correcting me.
Thank you. Uel, I'll let you complete.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I mean, I think that what we're selling is basically the ability to invest in African SMEs that are focused on the broader sport value chain. So our intention is really to invest in local operators today that are focused on the national market, domestic market, and run with them so that they can become regional champions. So the idea is to invest in a broad set of segments that is complementary to what we just heard, i.e., everything that you need to be a fan and then to attend many events in the infrastructure we just mentioned. So that goes from the equipment to the technology. For instance, if you're talking about games, etc., you may need e-ticketing. That is something that could be very useful on the continent. Going through esports, media and production content. We have a lot of African champions and a lot of stories to be told towards that. And also getting into fitness centers, for example. And the unique selling point I will mention is basically to say that those are businesses that obviously are able to generate return, because at the end of the day, those are businesses people have already invested in. Now, those are businesses that are focused on sports, but are economically viable, but also because they create impact. The first one is job creation. Of course, we want to reinforce that network of SMEs. But on top of that, if you take, for example, fitness centers, there is a lot to be done across Africa to afford, first of all, and provide, first of all, affordable fitness centers to the middle class, and also fitness centers that will include sustainability in the way they operate and the way they are presented. So our idea is really to strengthen that whole network. We are targeting $75 million, which is a size I think is commensurate to what Elios is doing. We're less advanced than Baba and his team, because we have just starting the fundraising process. But I think a day like today is really helpful, because it highlights exactly what needs to be done to make sure that the whole ecosystem is on its feet, and then we can progress and have something that is key. And lastly, I would say that that's a fund that is targeting Africa as a whole, Pan-African. But of course, in Africa, you have different regions. And the reality is, when you open a business in Côte d'Ivoire, you should be able to sell whatever you're selling across Francophone Africa. So you shouldn't be limiting yourself to Côte d'Ivoire, but to the whole zone. And that's the idea that we have as well when we say going from local operator to a regional champion. And that goes for North Africa, for South and East Africa, Francophone Africa, West Africa, etc. So The idea is really to be a supporter of these businesses over the long term, as mentioned earlier, and to help the whole ecosystem to benefit from that, so that at the end of the day we have people that practice sports, we are able to monetize the fan base, and we are able to attend events in let's say, well-defined venues.
Thank you. Well, I see time is running. Let's maybe wrap up with a key message in one sentence for the audience before leaving the place. How to unlock investment in sports more generally in one sentence for the audience. Let's start with you all.
I mean, what I would say is echoing what we've seen through the day today is be bold, and it's time to action, but be bold.
Marty?
One word, partnerships.
Partnerships, for sure. Kate?
I don't think I have a word. I have a few, but again, reiterating that at Adidas we believe sport has the power to change lives, and we can't do it alone. We can do it together, and it's really time that the world starts to use sport as a vehicle to change lives.
Thank you. Babatunde?
So sports is health, sports is wealth, sports is entertainment. And I think within those three things, we should be able to find the money for it.
Thank you very much. Sports is definitely more than a game. Thank you again to all our panelists. Thanks for the audience. And I will break the session. We have another key session after, within 10 minutes, dedicated to the social impact of sports, with some key metrics on impact measurement, research works. We need to stay within the room because the session will also be highly relevant. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Bravo, thank you.